Hi, Larky. I was just trying to figure out if anybody was here. Can you hear me? I hope you can hear me, because I want to read a couple stories. Hi, Captain Lee, Jenny, Alicia, my boo. Okay, you can hear me? Good. Okay. Hi, Wendy. I'm going to turn the lights down. You know, got to set the mood. Let me message Mommy Ramblings. Let her know. I meant to let her know. I usually do, in case she doesn't get a notification. Okay. You guys ready to listen to some stories? Yeah. Yep. Oh, okay. You guys like these old stories? I know I sure do. Hi, Jimmy. How's Carolyn doing, Jimmy? I just let her know that I was live in case she wants to listen, get her mind off of things. She's just going, through stuff, that's sadly, it's something that everyone has to go through at one time or another for different reasons. That's all I can say about it. And we just got to be there for them and listen. That's the most important thing, I think, is to listen to people. Just be an ear. Trying to find my chapstick. Hi, Joyce. Alicia, we must put on our makeup. I used to love watching my granny put on her makeup. It was so cute. We'd be going to town. She'd always say, let's go to town. I'd be like, okay. This is Vicks in my nose, just so you guys know. It helps with allergies and when your nostrils get dry. So I just put some in there. She'd stand in front of her bathroom sink, looking in that mirror, and she'd have on a slip, one of those full body slips they would always wear. And she'd have her hair, in those do's that they would have like back in the 40s, those ladies, it was like parted on the side. Oh, I'll ask him if he can turn it down a little, Wendy. Hold on. He's watching on Netflix Bone and something. I don't know. It's a series. Hold on a second. Oh, it isn't too loud, Wendy? Okay. Jimmy. Hi, Nana. Hi, you just here listening. That's all I want you to do. So before that's just remind me, she would always be there and I'd be getting a kick out of just looking at her because the bathroom was right off of the kitchen. And when she was getting ready, she'd have that bathroom door open and I could see her primping those curls, be that part down the side. And they'd have like those pin curl things, that went like this. And I think this side as well, and kind of around the back. And her hair was real dark. And she had a few strands of gray. She didn't really have very much gray. And she is not doing something with her plants. She is decoupaging. Okay. Hi, Carol. Voice. Whisper to me, video reel. She was so darn cute, Right, Alicia? Do you get what I'm saying? For some reason, hi, Tammy. She'd be putting on dark red lipstick too, and she had this little palette for mascara. Okay, it was like a clear little palette. You opened it up and it was like a powder thing in there, and it had a tiny little brush, and you'd get it wet and put it in that powder and just, and then put it like that, on your lashes. Anybody know what I'm talking about? This would have been in the early 70s, late 60s. We'd go to town. That would mean we were going shopping. We'd go into the big city. Well, you wouldn't know, Jimmy. You're a man. And my mom didn't use that. It was my granny that used it. We'd go to the big city of Gary, Indiana, and shop at all the cool stores. It's trending right now, Martha. I love you guys. We all love Carolyn, our mommy ramblings. Can we all give her a hug or a heart in the chat in case she peeks over? She might peek over and see it. And she'll try not to smile, but I bet she will. I bet she will. She'll try to sit there and just go, nope, not going to smile. Nope, not going to do it. And what do you know? She will be. She'll be smiling. A little bit of this stuff. This is how I'm trying to get rid of these bags under my eyes. Oh, wait, I have a mirror, duh. I keep forgetting. And then we'll get with the stories. I think I've used almost all this, and it hasn't really even helped. But I haven't used it every day either. I use it every other month if I think about it, if I see it and think about it. So I really need to start getting on my beauty routine. Because I may want to take my channel in that direction, Have hairstylists up here. Sandy Rusev, we all know she's a stylist. Yeah, stylist, beautician. Could probably get her to come up, have everybody cut their hair or dye it. Get some makeup gurus on here. I think Alicia would be good for that. Who else do I think? Hi, Pitbull. I've only seen Alicia, and I've only seen Tammy. I'm talking about in person, and Nana Patty. It'd have to be somebody in person I've seen, so, you know. Carolyn, they're giving you hearts. Aw. You can do my makeup? Yeah, you can. Well, you'd have to tell me what to do. Thank you, Tammy. Okay, I guess it's enough of the beauty routine at the moment. Do this every day, guys. You'll start to look like me. You want this, right? Just do as I say every day. Wash your face, put on lotion, under eye cream, a little bit of mascara, and a little bit of lipstick. When this hair grows out a little bit, I'll start styling it like my grannies. Okay, the first story I was thinking, I just saw it. And these are the old magazines, okay? Remember, somebody said in chat yesterday, I think, Carolyn, can you remember who it was? She said her name, she got her story published in these magazines a few times, and she was even on the cover. It's somebody in chat, it's a Rambler. And I have a few of these old ones, so you never know. I might find one, you know. Guess I was hoping to find some Thanksgiving stories, but right now it looks like a lot of the old ones I have are Christmas, so that's good too, right? Because it's coming. Okay. Was it? No, was it? I don't think it was Linda Uribe, Karen. I don't think it was. Could have been. She said she used her real name on there, or I don't know. Oh, so if you have cataracts, you can't use mascara. Okay, the first one I wanted to read was a Meatball Story. I wonder where Kevin is with her maiden name. Oh, okay. Okay. See, I can never remember. Let me see. I'm thinking it might be this one. Had the, yes. This one reminded me of Carolyn and, of course, Sandra Rusek. Good night story. Okay, sorry, Pitbull. I'll get busy on it right now. Okay, she used her maiden name. Okay, good. Okay. Okay, this one is called The Day I Helped Mom Cook by Jules Mangano. And just so you guys know, these are old issues. So the stories in here are even older, of course. But, you know, they were people just like us, right? Mom made the best meatballs I ever tasted. How did she make them so tasty? One day in the 1920s, when I was 8 or 9 years old, I'm now 90. Okay, this was 2005 right here, so she's probably not around. It rained too hard to play outdoors. I decided to watch Ma cook. Her specialty, and also mine, was making meatballs. That was when I became very handy and she grew to depend on me. First, Mom would wash her hands thoroughly, and she made sure I did the same. We don't want any germs, she would tell me. After that, she used her hands to crumble 2 pounds of chopped meat. Carolyn and Sandy, I think, both say chopped meat or, oh, sorry, no offense, but that makes me get ill for some reason. 2 pounds of ground beef, I'm saying, into a large earthenware bowl. Not a wooden bowl, she would say. The food stays in the cracks and everyone gets sick. Both Mom and Pop were Italian immigrants. In the sparse English she knew, she always made her point loud and clear. Breadcrumbs were not yet sold in stores, so I used our old square metal grater, the one with the different types of cuts on each side, to grate 4 slices of stale Italian bread, which Mom sprinkled over the ground beef. Then, while she sprinkled a pinch of salt and a pinch of pepper over the mixture, I used the same grater to grate 2 tablespoons of Romano cheese, which she also sprinkled over the meat. Then a sprig or two of fresh parsley. Sandy uses that fresh parsley a lot, doesn't she? I remember that from her videos. 1 medium onion and 1 large tomato grown in our backyard were finely chopped by hand, along with 2 cloves of imported garlic. Peeling and slicing the onions always made me very tearful. How come Mom never cried when she peeled onions? Finally, Mom added an egg or 2 from our chickens, depending on the number of meatballs she wanted to make. Then came the careful and tedious mixing. Again, Mom used her own squeaky clean hands and made sure all the ingredients were well combined. While poor Mom was mixing the ingredients, the aroma made me so hungry that I always tasted a spoonful or 2 of the raw mixture. I did it so often that Mom would say, "If you don't stop, there won't be enough for everybody." Moo, are you here? Hi, Jay Quinn. Let me message Moo real quick. Hi, Robin Lane. Maybe they liked it from there, Robin, instead of growing it. Let me message Moo. Because I just received a message from her like an hour ago and said, "Oh my gosh, I was sleeping." I'm just writing, "I'm live," in case she wants to come. Okay. Mom didn't make round meatballs. Hers were unique in shape, oval, like small footballs. This was an original idea of hers. Uncle Casper, Mom's brother, who was never considered company, had his own apartment in the rear of his shoe repair shop. He often had his meals with our parents and us 6 children. Mom never made fewer than 18 meatballs. 25, she said, if you don't eat so much before I cook them. If we had company, there's no telling how many meatballs she would make, in addition to the other meats and chicken she would cook. Mom browned the meatballs on all sides in a frying pan. This kept the juices in and also kept them from falling apart. After showing me how, she allowed me to do this. Using a fork and spoon, I carefully rotated them until each spot was brown. Mom also made her own tomato sauce from scratch, but that's another story. Those were the good old days. That was cute. wanted it longer. If someone tells me something I'm eating was grown in their garden, I nearly pass out. Why? It's not hideous, Carolyn. Did you hear the story I just read? I didn't even know it was about Italian meatballs, but I bet Sandy would like it. Anybody ever had that fudge that you make with Velveeta cheese? Uncommon these days? Yeah. Gosh, love garden stuff. Listen to this easy cheese fudge. And I have had this. People, yeah, I was surprised when they told me. You use a pound of Velveeta cubed, a pound of butter cubed, a cup of Hershey's cocoa, 4 pounds powdered sugar, a teaspoon of vanilla, and then nuts if you desire that. And it is good. Has anybody ever had that with the Velveeta cheese? You don't know it's made from cheese. Yes, it was called hideous. What are you talking? What? No way. No. Oh, you're harassed? You're decoupage? No. It never would be. Yeah, it's made with Velveeta cheese, and you can't tell. You cannot tell. Honest to goodness, it is so freaking good. I've had it before. And very easy. All you do is you melt your Velveeta and your butter in a very large bowl in the microwave. Velveeta is slower to melt than butter, so start with Velveeta and add butter when the cheese is about halfway melted. You sift your cocoa and sugar together. You add to the melted mixture. Stir well. No heating needed. You just mix it. You stir in your vanilla and your nuts. You form into a block of fudge on a cutting board, and you cut it when it's firm. I wrap each piece separately in waxed paper or plastic wrap before storing it in the refrigerator, and it makes 6 pounds, or you can half it. Robin, I bet, try it. No, you would not be able to tell, I'm telling you. I've had it, like at one of those potluck thingies or something like that, like at a church or whatever. And when they told me that's what it was, I was like, no way. But it is, it's really good. And look how easy. Try it. Okay, let's find another story here. Wonderful jigsaw puzzles, the operetta. That's a real short one here by Rose McAfee. The year was 1929, and I was in the 3rd grade at Senecaville Elementary School in southeastern Ohio. We were ahead of Walt Disney that year, for we presented the operetta Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs before an admiring crowd of family and friends. It would be several years more before Disney immortalized the Snow White epic in an animated feature film. Our small town school had one music teacher for all 8 grades. Oh, hi, Kevin. That reminds me. Burnt Hot Dog, are you in here? Burnt Hot Dog, Bonnie? Well, I'm sure she won't care if I tell. I have to brag. Maddie, you know how she's in college in Michigan University. She was picked. She auditioned for the music program. She's been practicing for months on her solo that she was going to sing to try to get in. They only take 3. And she's one of them. She got in. She just got notified. She's in. And that's something. That kid, that voice of hers. Isn't it, Karen? And just so happy. She's gonna go in, into music education. Thanks, Carolyn. You can tell Bonnie whenever you see her. Maybe don't say anything that I said anything. Maybe. It brings tears to my eyes to think of how good she really sounds, guys. She's such a sweet girl. And gosh, I wish we could hear Amelia. She had such a good voice too. I would hear her singing in the back, in the back seat. Her and Maddie to the radio. Wow, such voices. I knew they would get my talent. I was hoping. Okay, our small town school had one music teacher for all 8 grades. Blanche Ritchie chose students from all the grades under her jurisdiction and assigned them various parts. Elizabeth, a 6th grader, was named Snow White, while Doris, who was in the 7th grade, was the Wicked Queen. I was one of the woodland fairies, garbed in a white dress trimmed with crepe paper flowers. Oh my goodness, crepe paper flowers. Yes. They made them back then too. And showing my white bloomers below the hemline. Pitbull, I'm not going to stop anymore. I'll keep reading because you're trying to go to sleep. Okay. The group of woodland sprites, all in the lower grades, marched forward to pay tribute to Snow White and the Queen. I was chosen for the solo part, and turning alternately to Snow White, then to the Queen, I sang descriptively about each. I remember the song. As far as the lily, as red as the rose, as pure as a dewdrop, our dear Snow White grows, as bright as a sunbeam, as sweet as a pink, as pure as a dewdrop, is Snow White, we think. Then the snow. Would anyone like me to sing that? If you would like me to sing that I just read, raise your hand or put a 1. I'm just kidding. Then the seven dwarfs came on stage singing, "We are the 7 dwarfs, trusty and all." They were all one size and represented characters such as Doc, Sleepy, and Sneezy. The operetta, done in both song and action, required a lot of practice. The queen sang into her mirror, "Who is the fairest of them all?" and went into it. I hate when I start getting like this when I'm talking. "Who is the fairest of them all?" and went into a staged rage when the mirror voice behind the wall responded, "Snow White is the fairest of all." The operetta was a big hit, played in the school auditorium to a full crowd. And we actors and singers let our talent shine. It could not compare with today's glamorous productions, but we were stars for the day back then. Hi, Davita. Jay Quinn. 10th Angel. I'm not seeing any 1s either. Okay. Let's see. Here's a picture, too, of the little girl. Rose Bailey in 1929. Look how cute that school picture is. I mean, it really is cute, I think. Look how adorable. Isn't she a little cutie? Okay. How about Growing Up Safe by Charlotte Guterre, 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 Gutermson. Guterson. Aw. Here's a picture. Me at age 5 and my future hero, Mary Jane Cook. Wait. Let's see. Covering the little girl. Cute little kids. Well, still alive? I don't think so. Well, no, I don't think so. I loved elementary too, Wendy. It's the only part of school I liked. Was at my Liberty Elementary School. Okay, she says, I grew up in Washington, D.C. when it was safe to be a child, the early 1940s. I was 5 years old and just going into first grade. My dad worked for the Treasury Department, and there were lots of kids like me who loved school and loved playing games after school, on weekends and all through the endless summer. We lived in an apartment building where there were 4 families, 2 up and 2 down. Just outside our front door apartment, there were metal steps going up to the second floor where we would play school. I was usually the teacher. The first grade was on the bottom step, the second grade on the next step, and so forth. When a child answered correctly, he or she graduated to the next grade up. This was for days when it was too rainy to go outside. Take a drink.
Is he at home yet?
No.
Did he'll just pull it up or?
Oh, I don't know. I'm on live right now, though, reading stories. Do you think it's that plumber guy?
Well, I doubt if we have the light on. I'm sure you would call.
Dave's upset because he looked in the phone, Google, trying to find a plumber. He's never had to call one. He always fixes everything. But the person's never shown up. He's trying to act like we're all fancy, We can hire somebody. I'm kidding. 10th Angel said hi, Dave.
Huh?
10th Angel said hi. Did you hear him, 10th Angel? Okay. It's not him? No. Isaiah. Okay. We also played card games like Rook and Old Maid in each other's homes. Our mothers would let us roll out cookie dough, and when they were baked, we would have milk and a snack. Can you guys hold on for a minute? I know, right, Mom, Carolyn? I almost called you Mommy. Oh my gosh, I cut my tongue out. Hold on, guys. Warm up something. Isaiah's dinner. Hold on. Okay. Oh, Lisa H., did you go to the doctor? I haven't had anything like this since I was like 1.5. Was in the hospital for bladder kidney infections. My goodness. So you're okay now? Hi, help me, Rhonda. Hi, Justin. That intermission was brought to you by LaCroix, coffee, tea, coffee, exotica. It's innocent, 0 calories, 0 sweeteners. It's Nicola, Nicola, and it is essence of Sumatra, coffee, and Coca-Cola. And it is wonderful. This is what I was trying to get Carolyn's attention when she was shopping the other day. Have her see if they had this. She won't regret it. And it's caffeine free. If you guys get a chance, check it out. For sparkling water, it's awesome. It is, whisper to me. So you're okay, Lisa H.? Hi, Sassy Darcy. Hi, Lori Colley. I'm going to get back to reading because Pitbull Sleuth is trying to fall asleep. Pitbull is very tired. Oh. She might be asleep, or he. I always think Pitbull is a he, but they might be asleep already. So is Lisa okay or what? To Scooter, yes, I had a doctor appointment and got meds. Okay, so it was probably a bladder infection or something. Okay. We had a very large front lawn where we played on sunny days, winter and summer. Oh, what fun to play cowboys and Indians, hide and seek, or statues. We also had trikes and bikes and a lovely cul-de-sac with a slight hill where we could skate, ride, and run. And with the first snow, we made snow angels or snowmen. We never lacked imagination for coming up with fun things to do. At dusk, with our parents visiting on the porch, we kids played kick the can or gathered fireflies, which we were urged to let go before we went back inside. Across the street was the zoo, where we could meander about and visit all the animals before we had to pay to get in. And Rock Creek Park was woodsy enough so that we could think up all of good kinds of good, clean fun. I don't know why I'm like going like, oh, I think because I put that lipstick stuff on. Feel like I'm going weird with my mouth. Cook, a 4th grader, always walked with us to school. Once, when I waded through a creek, a snake bit me on the ankle. Mary Jane knew just what to do. She made me lie down. Then she made a cut from one fang mark to the other and sucked out the poison. After that, we went on to school, where the school nurse pronounced me safe to stay for class. I still have the marks on my ankle. Mary Jane was my hero. At recess, we played dodgeball, which I dearly loved. I hated that game. I usually opted to be in the middle so I could dodge the ball very well. Thank you. I was sent to the principal's office at least once each semester because I could not keep my mouth shut. But we had many dedicated teachers, and as a result, I am now an avid reader of any and every book there is, and the library is my second home. When I reached seventh grade, I got new school clothes and a pair of my beloved saddle shoes, black and white. I was careful walking in them, I can tell you. Much has progressed since those wonderful times, which I wax nostalgic over them. The world is much wider for me now, and life goes on. My greatest joy is keeping in touch with old friends from those days so that we can reminisce over great times we had, growing up in a safer world back in the good old days. Here's a poem that I wrote. I know you guys believe me, right? Because I am a, well, I don't want to brag. Just see if you think this is good. The simple life. The good old days have disappeared, but memories still remain of a time when life was simple and most things stayed the same. A nickel bought a lot of things, like candy bars and cones, and families went visiting, no need for telephones. A good cigar cost just a dime, a movie ticket too. Hand-me-downs were welcome. They looked as good as new. I had no worries as a child. That's why I can't forget. Those days were happy, even though there were no TV sets. Those childhood memories never die. They linger in my mind of Mama's cakes and apple pie and pickled watermelon rind, of fishing trips with Brother Bill along a lush lake shore, a cat perched on my windowsill, a rag doll on the floor, of woodland walks in early spring and birds of many colors. Their melodies in chorus sing midfields of swaying flowers. The one thing I am sure of, a great home life we shared. We knew that we were loved and knew our parents cared. It's cute, isn't it? Oh, yeah, kids still play that. Oh, yeah, in school. Yes, they do. Thank you, Kevin, for asking, for thanking people. Oh, boy, here we go. Spaghetti again. I just made that Rails again that Sandy told all of us about. Guys, you can't go wrong with that. And my local grocery store had it on sale for $5.99. I got the last 2 jars. Did someone say spaghetti? Oh, and here's that girl that was just, remember the story I just read, and then that's her and her mother in Washington, D.C., where she grew up in 1942. Moo, are you here? Hi, baby doe. You need to Google dodgeball. Really, Alicia? I was not an athletic kid, so that's why. I did like playing softball with the neighborhood kids, the neighbor boys. Did someone say spaghetti? When I was in grade school, I was a finicky child who had to be tricked into trying new foods. My favorite bill of fare was meat and potatoes, chocolate cake, and ice cream. Spaghetti and meatballs was something I had never tasted. That's how it was until my Aunt Julia challenged me. I hate how my voice gets. Wait, let me do my inhaler. I got to go off camera while I'm doing my drug. For Spaghetti Day. Oh, you're here, Moo. Okay, good, good, good. Are you liking it, Moo? And are the kitties liking it? Hello, Deanna. Oh, you took your last name off. Davita, are you? I'm not sniffing glue. Oh, Moo's loving it, she said. Hiya, Sparks. Drug Nazis, you're right, you're right. Davita, are you liking this? I'm trying to make people just enjoy getting away from their cares. I had to take one more hit. And I just, yeah. Might get this like taste out. Aunt Julia was a very special lady whom I loved dearly. I admired and worshipped her as only a young child could. She had red hair, blue-green eyes, and many freckles. Adults who knew her often called her Freckles, but I always called her Aunt Julia. How I loved the special attention she gave me. She made me think I was a prince or some other favorite person. This is by Charles C. Walther. One day, my dear aunt announced that she was going to prepare a spaghetti and meatball dinner for our family. She instructed me to watch her carefully so I would learn her special recipe and culinary techniques. I told her I didn't think I'd like spaghetti because of all those squiggly things that looked like worms. She lovingly poked me and said, "Oh, yes, you will. Watch what I do. Learn, and someday you will be proud and willing to share my special recipe with others." Because I loved her so, I watched and listened as she gathered and prepared the different ingredients for her culinary masterpiece. First, she poured several cans of tomato sauce into a large saucepan. Next, she added some mushroom pieces and stems and carefully diced onions. Pieces of chopped green pepper also joined the mixture. As she stirred the concoction, she informed me that the next step was crucial. She said it would begin when the mixture began to cook. I had to make sure I put that in the refrigerator. Dave will throw a fit and not eat it later. I asked her how she could tell when the cooking started. She said, "Cooking will begin when the ingredients start to gurgle and pop. Then the mixture will look like a sea of erupting volcanoes, spewing forth bits and pieces of ingredients." She stirred as I watched. Finally, the gurgling and popping began. The whole surface of the mixture looked like a sea of miniature red, erupting volcanoes and geysers. Then Aunt Julia produced several stalks of celery. Some of the stalks were still crowned with new leaves. After washing the celery stalks, she majestically waved them and said, "This is very important." Then she ceremoniously cut the leaves from each stalk and allowed them to drift down into the gurgling volcanoes. They were devoured quickly and disappeared, even as she cut and stirred more chopped celery stalks into the mixture. Every time another stalk was committed, she would stir for a few moments and then sniff the aroma emanating from the kettle. She informed me that the aroma coming from the mixture was the best way to tell when the proper amount of celery had been added. I asked her why she used celery leaves. That, she emphasized, was one of the secrets behind the flavor and the superiority of her special spaghetti sauce. After more cutting, stirring, and sniffing, she announced that she was ready to add the final ingredients, garlic powder and oregano. The oregano procedure was the same as the celery ritual. Add, stir, sniff, add, stir, and sniff. Once her olfactory senses approved, she said, "This sauce will certainly delight even the most particular gourmet." Still, I wasn't convinced that I'd want to eat any boiling mess made up of little volcanoes that spewed mushrooms, onions, pieces of pepper, and celery leaves. I asked her how anyone could ever eat such a mixture that would ultimately smother small, squiggly, worm like things. Yuck. As soon as the volcano started to erupt in unison, she added golf ball sized meatballs. Then she announced that the concoction would require 4 or 5 more hours of cooking before it would be ready to eat. I've heard of people putting meatballs in before, right? I mean that are raw and cooking them in there. Carolyn, do you ever do that? To me, it doesn't sound appealing, but I mean, I guess it really wouldn't be any different, right? Because they are getting cooked. And you do put like little meatballs into soups and stuff like that. My granny always did. Hi, Christy Love. Thank you, baby doe. Okay. I didn't dispute her, but I told her again that I didn't think I'd like it. The little volcanoes continue to gurgle, erupt. Okay, Carolyn. No, she does not. Okay, just asking. I didn't think you did. Morgan Freeman, Martha Morgan Freeman. They continued to erupt for several more hours. Aunt Julia would periodically check the cooking progress by stirring, sniffing, and sometimes adding a smidgen more oregano. When the sauce was finally ready, she placed it on the table beside a steaming bowl of spaghetti she had prepared. Put some spaghetti on your plate and cover it with the sauce and meatballs, she commanded. Then enjoy a most delicious meal that's fit for a king. Do I have to? I grumbled. My first sampling was quite small, but it tasted great. I refilled my plate several times. I finally conceded that spaghetti with meatballs was yummy, and I gave my aunt a big hug. It was back in the 1930s that I first savored Aunt Julia's spaghetti and meatballs. I have used and shared her recipe many times with others since then. Each time I do, I remember my special aunt who gave me something more than just her love. And the recipe is here. Well, I'm sure it was good. I mean, how can you make it bad, right? Oh, and these recipes, about the cheese and stuff like that, I guess they were picked up from the radio back in the day, before TV. The radio would give these recipes out. They also have that mock apple pie, yeah, with the Ritz crackers and Ruby's tea cakes. If you do, someone will recognize you to be and say, "Oh, that was sweet." Hey, Carrie. Hi, Snow Remover. Remembrance Day. Very nice. Prayer, Snow Remover. Okay, Carolyn. Could be back then, it was cheap because maybe they didn't have apples. This is way before TV. The poor days. Okay, let's just not get upset about people's recipes. Okay. Let's see here. Here's an Iceman like Tony delivers his product in New York City in 1941. Look at this. I used to dictate for an old guy in the nursing home when I was a volunteer there back in the late 80s, mid 80s, late 80s. Anyway, I remember him having me write down a story. And he had me I had no idea what he was talking about. And he told me to take my pencil and draw a circle. Pretty sure it was a circle. And then put times like in increments of 15. No, it wasn't a circle. I think it was a square. And he was telling me that is the sign that they would put in their window when they wanted ice to delivered to their house. And they would, put how much they needed or something like that. I don't know. This one's by Joyce Normandin. In 1942, we moved from Newburgh, New York to Brooklyn. Our belongings seemed to survive the move just fine, with one exception: our refrigerator, a hand-me-down from my late granny. It was dead on arrival, probably a victim of the rattling old moving van. This was a family crisis. No amount of coaxing or cajoling or clinking or banging by various repairmen could bring it back to life. It sat like a zombie in our kitchen, as one repairman after another told Mom, "Sorry, lady, no parts are available. Don't you know there's a war on?" With all the wisdom of an 8-year-old, I thought to myself, what a dumb question. Oh, which reminds me, is Tracy Kloss here? She always loves hearing these stories. We all contributed whatever we could to the war effort. Mom sewed blackout curtains for air raid drills on her old pedal sewing machine. We bought little stamps that were put into a booklet, and when it was full, we got a $25 war bond. I had relatives in the Army, the Navy, and even a cousin in the Merchant Marine. We observed meatless Fridays and later on meatless Tuesdays too. I had just brought a couple of Mom's old pots to a scrap metal drive. Now it looked like the old refrigerator was headed for the big scrap metal pile, a real monumental contribution. Mom didn't blame the moving men, and she didn't blame the war for the demise of her refrigerator. She took it right to the source. As it went out the door, she exclaimed, "I hope and pray that it turns into something that hits that miserable old Adolf right on his head." Then she vowed that when the war was over, she would have a brand new refrigerator. In the meantime, we faced a dilemma: how to manage without a refrigerator. Somehow, Mom and my stepfather secured a large metal box with sliding doors that was attached to our kitchen window. It could hold eggs, milk, oleomargarine, and other items that had to be kept cold, and it worked quite well for a while. We weren't the only family with a metal box hanging out a window. Oh, I've heard of those. I remember reading stories about those. However, as the weather began to warm up, it became apparent that something else had to be done. My stepfather solved the problem when he managed to snag a secondhand ice box and proudly had it carried up our 3 flights of stairs. For the remainder of the war, we became slaves to that darn drip pan underneath. Sometimes it did more than drip, it flooded like Niagara Falls. Once, on a particularly hot day, while we were out, the whole kitchen floor was awash. And Uncle Joe, who was with us, suggested that maybe we should build an ark. Mom, who was mopping up, was not terribly amused. But once we got the hang of it, floods didn't happen very often. Now, Tony, the Iceman, became an integral part of our lives. We were given cards to put in the front window on the day that ice was delivered to indicate the amount of ice we needed. See, that's what he was talking about. To my delight, we quickly discovered the side benefits of ice delivery. Tony would stop his truck with ice all covered in burlap in the middle of the block. Getting in the back of the truck, he would take an ice pick and carve out the appropriate piece of ice. Then, grasping large tongs and throwing a piece of burlap over his shoulder, he would hoist the ice onto his shoulder and stride to one of the apartments. Foot fell asleep. Ow. In the winter, there were not as many calls for ice as there were in the summer. But during the summertime, Tony was a welcome sight to all us kids. We'd sneak into the truck and snitch as many ice chips as we could. Nothing tasted better than a rowdy game of tag or hide and seek after a game. Tony, of course, had no use for those chips, and they melted pretty quickly in the heat. I think that he knew that sneaking them was part of our fun. After the war, household appliances and cars went back into full production. Mom never wanted to let the grass grow under her feet, made sure that her name was at the top of the refrigerator list. She had been squirreling away money for one all during the war. Then finally, we got the word. We would have a new refrigerator by the end of the month. See, Carolyn, refrigerator woes, even back in the 40s. Mom might have kept her shoulder to the wheel and her feet on the ground, but her head was in the clouds. She marked time by writing endless lists of all the meals she would soon make. Recipes were thumbtacked all over the kitchen. She got absolutely ecstatic about the leftovers she would be able to plan. Even in the summer, she would have to go to the store less often. She counted the days with more excitement than a kid marks off the time on a calendar before Christmas. I can't remember what brand it was, but when it was finally delivered and set up in our kitchen, we all just sat and stared at it as if we were afraid that it would disappear if we took our eyeballs off it. We investigated all the wonderful features and gloried in the 2 ice trays. 2 ice trays. The road listening to scooter, I'm driving all the way up. What? Oh, are you going to wait? No, you're not going to work. Going to your daughters, maybe taking them something, or just going home. 2 whole ice trays. Wow. Mom treated the refrigerator almost with reverence. Uncle Joe used to say that he would not be surprised if she lit candles and incense in front of it. She always seemed to have a cloth handy, and she never walked by it without giving it a swipe or two. A smudgy fingerprint could be a catastrophe. That is so darn cute. Mom made ice cream in the ice trays using a recipe that came with the refrigerator. It was not very good. In fact, it was awful, but we ate it and even asked for more. Just imagine not having to go to the store for ice cream. What luxury. We now had cold milk year-round, and food no longer went bad so quickly. There were no more drip pans to empty. But the best part, the very best part, was that Mom was so happy, and we had learned early in life that when Mom was happy, everyone gets happy. Tony, our Iceman, who had served us faithfully during the war, slowly went out of business as one by one neighborhood ice boxes were replaced. No more hot days were relieved by a large chip of ice from his truck. The war was over, but for us kids, it was a bittersweet victory. Somehow, slurping on an ice cube didn't have the same element of fun and daring as swiping ice chips from Tony's truck. The refrigerator hummed, but not as well as Tony as he strode around. The refrigerator hummed, but not as well as Tony as he strode around the neighborhood, ice on his shoulder, singing, Oh, sole mio. Not going to do that. Grinning and slyly glancing back at us as we filched ice from his old truck on a hot summer day. Oh, he's a cute guy. Cute little guy. Wonder how long he lived. Thanks, Doc. Oh, here's, you know how you've heard about the rationing stamps and that during the war for America, World War II. Here's running boards and ration stamps. It's just one page story, but I guess right here is, I don't know why I have a hard time showing. Rationing stamp, I think for gas maybe. And here's the kid that's writing the story. Edward Mesta. Hey, he's my mother's age. My mom was born in 1938. My dad, 1935. It's going to be 86 in a few more days. Next week. I was born in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania in 1938, and I have enjoyed cars since my earliest days. Oh man, I hope he's still alive. My dad would like to hang out with him. So my parents said I often carried a toy car around with me, and car was one of my favorite words. The pleasure of a good, well-maintained car continues for me today. As I reflect on some of my early car memories from the 1940s, I remember stepping up and standing on running boards. Most cars had them. I'm just checking, guys. I'm going to have to message Shelly. I've been waiting to hear back from her. Let's see. I remember riding the back of my great aunt Rose's Buick coupe that had no back seat. There were no seat belts, no airbags, and no child restraint system. And in fact, no built-in seat. My seat was a round hassock. When it rained, I watched the vacuum-operated windshield wipers that almost stopped when my dad drove up a steep western Pennsylvania hill. Then, when he let off the gas, the wipers came back to a slapping speed. And I remember the click of Dad's left foot as he dimmed the headlights. Back then, when I looked into engine compartments, I actually could see the major parts: carburetor, starter, generator, spark plugs, radiator, etc. In today's sophisticated cars, I can hardly see down into the engine compartment. My father used rationing stamps at the gas station during World War II and was always concerned about being able to get tires. And speaking of service stations, they had names that are long gone, such as Gulf and Pennzoil. Well, they still have Gulf. Back then, cars had chrome bumpers that you could tell were bumpers, not just a sculpted plastic part at the front or rear of the car. I remember long forgotten car names: Packard, Studebaker, Hudson, Willys, and International. And though there are still some around, Oldsmobile soon will be unknown to many in the next generation. Okay, these were basic mileage rationing cards for gas. Alicia's still here. Hi, Deborah Ferris. How long have I been on here now? Hour and 17. You are here, Alicia. I always got to keep an eye on Lisa. Keep an eye on Alicia. Whisper to me. Watch Deborah. Robin, watch Lisa. Have to find somebody to watch Kevin. Making sure nobody leaves. Or if they do, you guys are taking names. Deanna, okay. And Kristen. Good, Kristen. Keep an eye on one another. Take notes. Nana Patty's still here. Okay. Guys, gotta watch it. Mommy Rambling's still here. Lisa. She's probably doing some of her decoupage and she thinks it's horrible, but we know it's not. This magazine from March 2005 has a few of the stories from the war, which are nice, you know. This one's called Lady the Pig. What? You said you thought your decoupage was horrible or terrible or something like that. Oh, Carolyn. Those idiots. Of course they would say that. Of course. You're just freaking jealous. We know that. Here's the pig we're going to read about. Lady is her name. I hope I don't cry. No, I'm not. She's a pig. It sounds like she had a good life. It was a long, long time ago. It's by Tom Nance. She's a Berkshire pig. And that's Tom is right there in the picture with Lady. In March 38, the Sears Roebuck Foundation for American Youth furnished a female piglet to one deserving boy. He was to raise it as his own, and from her first litter, he was to give one female piglet to some other deserving young man. This was called a pig chain. It was a great idea, especially since I was chosen to start it off. I was to purchase the pig, and Sears would pay for it. I could buy any pig I wished, so I bought the best bloodline I could find. My father and I traveled all the way to Thornton, Iowa to find her. Her name was Lady. She was a Berkshire. Carol. I'm not looking at the comments. Okay. Her name was Lady. She was a Berkshire, and she looked like she had run nose first into a big flat rock. She grew at a fantastic rate and became my pig. I petted and washed her every day. She followed me around like a puppy dog and seemed to try to do whatever I wished. Of course, I wanted to show her, so I entered her into the junior division at the fair in Fort Smith. Everyone raved about her, and she took the top awards for grand champion and best of all swine. I was delighted. The prize package was $65, a fortune in those days. In 1939, I again entered Lady in the Fair, but the officials refused to allow me to enter her in the junior division. They said it was not fair to the other youngsters. They wanted me to enter her in the regular or senior show. I thought that all was lost because there were many professional hog breeders in that division, but my father insisted that I go ahead and enter her. The day of the show, I was almost in tears when I took Lady to the show ring. The judges walked back and forth, and then they tapped my shoulder and had me take her to the front. The head judge announced that Lady was the best junior sow he had ever had the pleasure to observe. She was grand champion again. This time, the prize was not $65, but more than $700. And besides that, there were gifts from businesses worth several $100s more. I was rich. Lady learned many things. She knew more tricks than any trained dog. We always put on free shows for the public. Germany was at war, and news pictures of their goose-stepping troops were everywhere. I taught Lady to goose step on command. All I had to do was say, "Lady, walk like Hitler." This brought many laughs, since most people considered Hitler a sort of swine anyway. I would tell Lady, "Plow the field." She would root a small ditch about 4 feet long. Then I would give her a few grains of corn and say, "Lady, plant the corn." She would pick up a few grains and dump them in a little ditch, root some dirt over them, and then stand on top of the freshly planted mound with her head held high and stamp her front feet. That sounds so cute. I would blow up a paper bag, twist the top, pitch it onto the ground, and tell Lady, "Lady, there's Hitler." Lady would run to the bag and rip it into pulp. But it was the last trick that always had the most lasting effect. I always placed a rose or a carnation in my overall pocket. I would squat by Lady and say, "Lady, there is a really pretty girl here. Would you give her a gift from me?" I would hand the flower to Lady. She would walk back and forth before the crowd and stop in front of a woman or girl. She spotted the dress. Pants would not work. Then Lady would kneel on one front knee and grunt, and then stand with the flower held out to the lady. Then I would say loudly, Lady always knows what beauty is. See, she picked the most beautiful lady here." Of course, this embarrassed the woman or girl, but I think deep inside she loved it. That always brought a lot of laughter. After every trick, Lady would face the people and kneel, then rise and bob her head up and down. This brought most people to their feet with applause. Lady's greatest trick came about. Dave, hold on. Okay, sorry guys. I thought maybe that plumber guy was here. After every trick, Lady would face the people and kneel, then rise and bob her head up and down. This brought most people to their feet with applause. Lady's greatest trick came about by a near tragedy. Her tail was almost severed by a dog, and thereafter it hung straight down. Anyone knows that a pig's tail usually curls. I knew that this would count against her at the shows and considered having the tail made solid. Then one day, while giving her a bath, I noticed that she could move her tail. I rolled the tail with my finger and let it go. It fell straight again. I gave her a little slap on the backside. Her head came up, and she seemed to know that I was trying to teach her something. I curled her tail again. It dropped, and again I slapped her. But the third time I curled it, she held it there. Oh, how cute. I praised her and gave her a doggy snack. In less than an hour, she had learned to curl her tail when she stood at attention. The one mistake I made was that I had taught her to curl it in the wrong direction. It was sometime later that I found out that the tuft at the end always points out. Ladies turned inward. Very few people knew this, and no one seemed to care, not even the show judges. Lady lived many years and brought many piglets into the world. From her first litter of 7 piglets, one female was turned over to Sears for the Sears pig chain. I'm spitting now. The following year, Lady brought 6 more piglets. I gave one back to Sears, and then started Sears pig chain number 2. In 1941, I gave another, which started Sears pig chain number 3. Lady would be proud of her offspring. Lady is buried in the pasture where she lived all those years. She was my buddy and as great a friend as I ever had. Aw, right? Calling Pete, I didn't know the bit would be slapped. Hi, Michael. Well, yeah, she didn't. Yes, that was a happy ending, right, Lisa? Hi, Susan. DeRail. We get a play some gum. So I can keep reading. You guys know. See how quick I drank this? And look how this is tall, right? I've always been this way. A bacon sandwich. Dirty John. Wow, look at this, a penny saved. Here's this guy's original bank book, Beneficial Savings Bank, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, founded 1853. It's a picture of his original bank book. Gosh, I forgot all about those. How they would give you those little books, when you had a savings account. Yep, a penny saved. Here it's by Robert J. Miller. We'll go ahead and read it, just one page. Consider this anomaly of the Great Depression. Kids from poor families who had their own bank accounts Although my father had 5 children to care for and was often unemployed or on short time, I was one of those fortunate kids who had a bank book. Did you guys ever did you guys ever have, maybe some of you are my age. Do you remember your grandparents talking about the Great Depression and how they wait a minute. Is Carolyn live? Hold on, guys. I'm going to be sure. I know one thing. I just scared myself when I saw myself on here. Wow. Try to turn that light a little bit. You know, from school class, your parents grew up with depression stories? Mine didn't have depression stories. My father's living. My mother just passed 3 years ago, but their parents grew up during the Depression. Yes, Lisa, I figured. Deanna, you remember that? Yeah, I mean, they always said a lot. Well, during the Depression, they would always say that. Okay. Well, I got to put it back here no matter how I look so I can see. He was one of the fortunate kids who had a bank book. It started with a group of brilliant executives who developed a long-term plan to lift their ailing bank, all that seltzer, out of the doldrums of the Depression. Their goals were to restore the public's confidence in the banking system, to discover new sources or deposits, and to build a base of loyal customers for the future. Courageously ignoring the critics, they implemented their plan by establishing a school savings program for students in local elementary schools, and at a time when money was scarce in most families that had children of school age. The program was introduced in my own parochial school when I was in 5th grade in 1935. Each student was given an explanatory pamphlet and an authorization form to take home. With some reluctance, my mother signed it a few days later. Upon turning the slip in, I was given a passbook with my own account number. I had a real bank book. Thanks. Alicia. 47. Aw, yeah, Robin. Yeah, 47. That's when my uncle was born as well. That was in Vietnam. He passed in 2016. That's too young, It is still too young. The minimum initial deposit was 10 cents, but succeeding deposits could be as little as 5 cents. We surrendered our money and passbooks to the teacher on Monday mornings. She delivered them to the principal's office, where a bank representative picked them up later that day. The books were usually returned to us on Wednesday afternoon. How thrilling it was to open the book to read the balance. How wonderful it was to see the numbers increase with each passing week, and to see the interest added every few months. For a 10-year-old child of the Depression, it wasn't easy to make regular deposits in a bank account. From a very early age, our parents had taught my siblings and me to be extremely careful with money. They said that it was all right to buy things we wanted, provided we always put away a little for future needs and wants. My younger brother and I never got an allowance, so we had to earn our own pocket money. We were always on the lookout for opportunities to obtain a few pennies. We did chores and ran errands for neighbors, scavenged materials to send to the local junkyard, and eagerly created visiting relatives who often slipped us a few coins. I anticipated each Monday when I could make a small deposit to my account. Slowly, the numbers in my bank book got larger, and I was delighted with every interest payment, which I considered to be found money. I think the bank's school savings program was a huge success. I learned how profitable saving could be. And with each deposit, my desire to accumulate funds for the future increased in direct proportion to my growing account balance. Despite others' opinions about banks, my confidence in the system took root, and as my income grew through the years, so did my savings account. Why is that doing that? Dad, your dad was. How come some of these are saying show or not show? That is weird. I will miss me. Of course, Lisa and Robin. What in the heck? Why is it doing all this? That's weird. Let's see. And confidence grew as his income in the savings account grew. As those far-sighted bankers of the Depression had hoped, their company prospered over the years. They opened numerous branch offices to serve their many customers. The old neighborhood office near my school is still open too. And almost 70 years later, I still have an account there. Wow. Mr. Franklin was right. A penny saved is indeed a penny earned. Does anybody know if that bank is still there? Beneficial Savings Bank in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania? Doors up. I think the 80s are the best. People haven't gotten money. We're just rude. I said that. Just what you were thinking. Yeah, hearing all these, means you can pull a comment up on your screen. Oh, really, Kevin? Oh, and I just did that and I didn't even notice. Okay. I'll go till it'd be 7:00 Central, so 15 more minutes, okay? If you guys would like. Nope, there's Hershey in Pennsylvania. Well, yeah, but there's still banks there. Come on, Alicia. Oh my goodness. Let's see here. They have songs, music, big band. Knee support, Nana Patty. How do I? Let's see. Okay. Let me find one more thing to read. There's so many neat stories in here. There really are. I want the one that a Rambler wrote, the few that she wrote, Aw, this is a cute little one. You're a photographer. I don't sell them any. It's great therapy. 94 and an aunt who was 95. Oh my goodness. Fantastic. Carolyn has her aunt who is, I believe, what is she, 94? She said she still is active and all that. And I watched that lady on YouTube. She's 95. Her grandson's spoiling the heck out of her. Sassy Gran, if anybody. I showed her to Moo. Moo loves them now. 95, she's gorgeous. Her daughter's 75. I'm just starting to learn a little bit about the family, you know, kind of their story. Very interesting. I thought she was just some rich lady, you know, because she's wearing, what is it she loves? Is it Gucci she loves so much? And she just looks gorgeous, you know, in them, always put together. I was so wrong. Oh, no, she didn't grow up that way. She didn't live that way. Her grandson's Sassy Gran. You watch her, Kevin? Isn't she great? Did you know it's the grandson that's buying her all those clothes? I had no idea. I thought she was the rich one, and you know, because you can tell they're living pretty good. But it's from the grandson. It's from the grandson that does the videos. Boy, he loves that grandma. She loves him. He's done a lot for her, I guess. Anyway, the last story, I guess. What time is it? 6:49. Mrs. Wheeler and Jim Crow. Here she is. Jim Crow is this little crow down there. Look how cute. Oh, you watch him on TikTok? How cute. You like her too? Who said I like them too? Deborah Ferris. I don't watch TikTok, but they're here on YouTube. Okay. Hi, QB. Kubi, I think is I say QB. I know Carolyn says Kubi. And I know you said Carolyn says it right. Okay. I met Lucille Wheeler at a Sparta, Illinois senior site. Lucille was 100 years old when I met her. She still lived alone, but she couldn't drive, so her daughter, Mary Ruth Bierman, would bring her in to eat lunch and visit. She was a spry, sweet lady, her only problem being her hearing. Hi, Shannon. It's like old home week right now. Come on in. Is that a spell? We were visiting one day when she told me this story. I was out in the yard one day when several little boys came by and stopped to show me the baby crow they had found. I asked them if they would take a quarter for him, and a deal was made. Kubi, like booby. Okay. Kubi. I named the little fellow Jim, took him into the house and wondered what to feed him. Then I thought about the mash I fed my baby chickens. Jim gobbled it up and thrived on it. He soon became a royal member of our family. Even he and the cat became best buddies, and they played together all the time. He loved to sit on my shoulder and nuzzle my ear and talk crow talk to me. Oh, how I loved Jim Crow. I knew the day would come when Jim would go to join his crow family. I started to take him outside with me, and he would fly off and explore. But soon he would be back on my shoulder, chattering away. Tammy, are you here? This sound familiar? One day, we were on our bench in the yard when a flock of crows flew over, calling as they went. Jim cocked his head and chattered, gave me a big nuzzle, and was gone. He never came back again, but I have never forgotten him. Lucille lived to be close to 102 and then slipped quietly away. I like to think she has met up with Jim Crow somewhere in time once again. She just glowed when she spoke of him. This world needs more Mrs. Wheelers. So Mrs. Wheeler was 40 years old right there. A few more minutes. Let's see what else we have. Oh, how we got to read this one. A doll named Charles. Wonder if they called him Chucky. This is by Dorothy P. Weaver. I was raised in a large family in Omaha, Nebraska. It was during the Depression era, so we all knew what hard times were. There were 9 children in my family, and 7 grew to adulthood. Oh, that's sad. My father was a truck mechanic for Boyer Coal and Lumber Company. He was a hard-working man, but his paycheck didn't stretch far at times. Right, Lisa? But we always had plenty to eat, and we raised big gardens and canned and preserved all there was. My mother could take nothing and make something out of it in cooking and sewing. I wore clothes made out of my brother's old coats. We all did a lot of sharing. Nothing was ever really your own. I had 4 older brothers, and they could repair and remake just about anything. Once they built me a bicycle from bits and pieces. Not far from our house was a big junkyard where trash was hauled, along with anything else people didn't want. We often went exploring there. It was our favorite place, and we stayed there for hours at a time. One day, while we were exploring, I found a doll. It was the saddest doll I had ever seen. It was very dirty. And its arms were gone. The doll had such a sad look on its face. It seemed to be saying, "No one wants me." I searched hard for the missing arms, but never found them. The doll's body was soft, like cotton, but the head was plaster material. The face was painted with blue eyes, and its hair was cut and shaped like a boy's. On the back of the neck was the name Charles. So Charles was his name, and he became my doll. I wrapped Charles in my coat as he looked so cold, and I took him home. No one wanted him but me, so he was my special doll. I cleaned him up and wrapped Charles in an old doll blanket and held him close. We had a big black range in our kitchen. I would often sit on the floor by the stove and just hold Charles to keep him warm and make him feel wanted. He belonged only to me, and I loved him. It seemed to me that his face now had a happier look, as if Charles knew he was loved. I kept Charles for a long time until he finally went all to pieces. Then I buried him in our backyard in a box. That was a sad day for me. I had lost a dear friend. I thought maybe she'd have a picture of Charles, but I don't see it. Isn't that cute, though? Aw. I hope you guys liked the story time today, whatever. And Scooter adopted. I'm glad. thank you guys for coming. And Deanna, I like that picture. Thank you guys for coming so much. You have a new picture up, Justin, or have you always had that? You're young right there, Justin, aren't you? You're welcome, Robin. Thank you guys for coming. I totally appreciate it. Thank you, Kevin. I am too, Robin. I am too. Oh, wait, I was trying to get. This is different. Yeah, it's fun to do this though. Oh, good, Lisa. Love you guys. And thank you. See y'all later. See you at Carolyn's.